Now we're on part 4, and actually, if this goes a little too long, I might break it up and make a little part 5 out of this. There's two topics I really want to talk about. One is the TNA Genesis pay-per-view predictions, and the first one is going to be the new TNA pay-per-view schedule. So I might split up the two of them. I don't know for sure because I do have a lot to rant about for the new pay-per-view schedule and not much to talk about for Genesis. So we might just rush Genesis instead, even though this is probably going to be called TNA Genesis predictions or something like that. It's the main thing. Um, so this is what the pay-per-view schedule is now for TNA. They have only 4 live pay-per-views a year now. They're going to do TNA Genesis in January, TNA Lockdown in March, Slammiversary in June, and Bound for Glory in October. The rest of the whole year is going to be pre-taped shows that they're going to run on Friday night and only charge $15 for. And they've gotten rid of all of the following events. They know Against All Odds, Victory Road, Sacrifice, Destination X, No Surrender, Turning Point, and Final Resolution. There's a couple points I want to bring out before I even talk about the pre-tape shows. Every single one of those ones that they got rid of, except for Destination X, it doesn't matter. None of them served any purpose for the most part. What was there about Sacrifice that really was necessary? Or No Surrender? Or Turning Point? Nothing. It's not like WWE where they have the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, where everything's, well, not everything, because Over the Limit doesn't and stuff like that, but WWE, for the most part, they have a reason for their pay-per-views. TNA, it's just kind of random pay-per-views. So I'm okay with them getting rid of all of that, except for Destination X, which brings me on to the list of the pre-taped things that are supposedly going to be thrown out there. The first one is called X-Travaganza, or X-Travaganza. Kind of a gimmicky name. Yeah, it's a gimmicky name, but at the same time, all right, I'll bite. It works. I probably would pitch something stupid like that just to
They
kind
should have
of.
just called it, Destination X. They should have just moved it to the Friday pay per view.
Well, see, what I'm hoping is with this X-Travaganza thing, it's supposed to be featuring X Division wrestlers. So I'm hoping it's basically Destination X. They need to keep the Ultimate X match as something interesting. And why last year would you set up this idea that the X Division champion can challenge for the title if you weren't going to even have it a couple months later? So I hope that they keep that and they don't just get rid of that idea. Then they have a thing called Joker's Wild Tag Team Special, which is going to be enemies teaming up with a random battle royal finish. I don't understand that at all.
Does anyone know that this is actually a WCW/WWE idea?
What,
Because
enemies
they
teaming
had
battle royal?
yeah they had the same sort of thing. They had it even at one point with I don't know if it was an In Your House or a Survivor Series where they teamed up random teams full of heels and faces and stuff, and it was rather entertaining.
Well, I don't get the battle royal at the end.
Well, the Battle Royal finale, they didn't have that. That just seems like a TNA move.
Then we have, well, speaking of TNA moves, then we have this one. Hardcore Justice 2 is what they're calling it, and it's another ECW reunion hardcore show. Who the fuck is left on ECW that they're gonna get? And why? Why?
And also the fact they stiffed them as well. They lowballed everyone on pay. Do
See
they
that?
think they're going to get these guys on the show?
Well, another thing is, and I'm gonna criticize my main 3 criticisms about this are you don't pre-tape a pay-per-view. Nobody's gonna watch it. Nobody's gonna spend $15 to watch something that they can read the results of a month ahead of time or a week ahead of time or even a day ahead of time. So that's stupid. They should just do it live. Friday night is also another time when people are doing weekend shit. They're not gonna want to watch it either. Um, but my second main criticism about all this, and I'll touch upon it, is there's too many random tag teams, and then my second, and too many tournaments. And my third is they're focusing way too much on people that aren't on the roster. This is one of those things where why have the ECW people in there? Because there's not going to be some
It'll be
giant.
Rob Van Dam and Kid Cash doing the whole pay-per-view.
It'll be them, and it'll be like Just Incredible and a bunch of people that nobody really honestly cares about. You're not going to get a whole bunch of people buying pay-per-views for stuff like that. If you get Sabu or something like that, you're not going to get people buying it as if fucking Brock Lesnar was on it. It's
I
just
just
not
want to say,
happen.
Sabu did Sin Cara before Sin Cara.
Then we have a thing called 10 Reunion, the stupidest name out of everything that they have here. And that's featuring old TNA stars in the six-sided ring. I like the six-sided ring. Why is it called 10 Reunion, and why are you focusing on old TNA stars when you have a roster of TNA stars? It's a stupid idea, and I really don't understand it at all. They have the Knockouts Knockdown, which is a Knockouts tournament, and I don't get this either. The first round is all stipulation matches, and the final four have what they are calling a test of stamina.
So it's a porno.
I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of giving the Knockouts their own pay-per-view kind of a thing. I'm okay with that, but I'm a little worried about that.
Send them to my house. I'll give them a test of stamina.
The final three, and this is one of those things where I don't know if they took one idea and they decided to write it down 3 times and not realize it or what. They have International Incident, which is an awesome name for a tournament featuring
In your house.
Yeah, for an awesome name for people from other countries having a tournament with the winner getting a title shot. My only criticism, another tournament, another thing where it's other people from not being on part of the roster. But then they also have these two pay-per-views, which are called XDivision World Cup Tournament and World Cup of Wrestling. So why do you have two World Cups that aren't in the international one? And you have two things of the same tournaments. And both of these, by the way, are about 4 teams. The TNA X Division World Cup one is 4 teams of X Division wrestlers have a tournament. See, another fucking tournament featuring, and I don't understand what they mean with this, singles, tag teams, 6-man, and 8-man tag matches.
Basically, it's tournaments for points, Tony, like they did the World X Cup before, where you get a pinfall in a singles match, you earn this many points. You get a pinfall in, say, a team elimination match, you get points depending on how many pins that you make from each team.
That's just
and then it goes from there. And then the winning team with the highest points wins the X Cup.
And the World Cup of Wrestling is 4 teams that consist of a heavyweight wrestler, an X Division wrestler, and a tag team. Have singles, tag team, and stipulation matches, and then a 2-ring triple chance battle royal finale. So my biggest criticism is what I had said before, the too many tournaments, too many random battle royals and tag team matches. Why are you having all these World Cups? And it's they have some good ideas in this, but to me, you need to retool this entire thing. If you want to do an International Incident World Cup, do that, but don't do an X Division World Cup and a World Cup of Wrestling and this tournament, this tag team, that tag team. Bring back the ECW people, bring old TNA stars, bring people from other continents, and it's fucking TNA.
No, I agree. The fact is, they're shooting their nose off to spite their face. What they could have done is literally said, right, the other pay-per-views that we had before, we'll turn them into these Friday shows, which will be done on iPay-per-view. So it gets them at a cheaper cost. They don't have to spend through the nose for these pay-per-views. It's still live, and people get to watch it online if they want to. If not, they can record it and save it for later. Do you know what I mean?
And if you want to do different things, do different things. Don't do different from what you do and repeat it 6 times.
Yeah.
Don't have a tournament every fucking one of these things. Don't have a tag team. It's just crap. And Braden and Dace, what do you guys think about this? Because I know you guys don't follow TNA a whole lot. So is this going to get you interested in TNA, or is this like I'm still not going to watch this garbage?
I think they should burn it down to the ground.
Burn it to the ground.
Except, I think they should have done 5 and kept Destination X, especially after that pay-per-view built some very good steam the past 2 years. No reason to kill it off after you built it up that good. I don't see the point. If they would have kept that as well as Slammiversary, Bound for Glory and Lockdown, I have no problem with that. The extra stupid specials that you have to watch on Friday after you read about them on the Thursday taping, they're dumb. I don't care if they're cheap. It's stupid. I
You
don't
know
like
what? They might not even be retaping them on Thursdays. There's actually a note that says the one that's going to be April 5th, the XDivision show kind of a thing, is going to be pre-taped. It's pre-taped on January 12th.
Okay, then then they're stupid. They should not be
So
paying. Why don't you just do like some sort of television special? Like move on from Spike, go on to a bigger network. If you can make a rating
Or,
there or something.
as you said, do it as like a Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the 4 pay-per-views a year is good for them because, it's not an oversaturation. You're not just having shitty things like Sacrifice or Victory Road or Against All Odds. I like the fact that it's only 4 pay-per-views a year. I wouldn't even mind if, it's the WWE's market so big now, but I wouldn't even mind if WWE just built the big 4 that way and just had specials like each month. You know what I mean?
The thing is, it's not the pay-per-views that's the problem, and I've been saying this to Tony. That's not the problem. The problem is that TNA keep trying to compete with the WWE. They should be working on their own product. They should be making sure that they're right and secured, that they can build talent so they can draw a box office. If you can't build your talent and you keep reshuffling everybody or try to cater to Jeff Hardy, who's going to end up leaving you anyway when he needs more money for his coke habit, it's not going to help your company. And this is going to all be redundant because in the next 6 months after it fails, and it will fail, they're going to end up going back to the drawing board and say, well, the reason why these didn't sell was because the people that were on, people don't want to see that no more. And it's not that. It's because they're thinking about these specials, giving them dumb names and taping them pre-taped when they know that people are going to go online and access spoilers and say, oh, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, I'm caught up.
Right. And that's TNA's biggest fault out of everything, outside of some flat out stupidity every once in a while, and the fact that I personally don't think that they have, as what they keep claiming as, oh, we have the most talented roster out of everybody. I think that for the most part they don't. Their biggest problem is instead of sitting down and trying to figure out, all right, what works, what doesn't work, what can we salvage, and what do we need to change, they just go, let's try this brand new idea. And they try it and it fails, and then they go, let's try this brand new idea. They keep jumping from ideas instead of trying to work with what they have and just make it better. And I don't understand what's apparently so special about Genesis. I get Slammiversary and Bound for Glory and Lockdown.
It's basically because it's like a first pay-per-view of the year, and again, it goes back to the ridiculous trying to compete with WWE thing. It's like, well, they have Royal Rumble in January. We need to have something in January too.
Right. And
these are our big 4 pay-per-views. These are our WWE big 4s.
Right.
But they're not because they haven't established them.
And your big 4 combined get as good of a buy rate as like Vengeance gets. So
yeah. And this is the thing. They were even saying Ring of Honor's pay-per-views get more fucking hits than a TNA pay-per-view.
I bet No Way Out got a bigger buy rate than Bound for Glory 2012.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And that was
the problem.
The worst WWE show all year.
They don't sit there and see it as a creative problem. They see it as a marketing problem. It's not a marketing problem. It's a creative problem. You need to understand your talent. You need to sit there and understand your audience, and you need to sit there and say, right, what can we do to put bums on seats? We don't need catchy names. We don't need big gimmick pay-per-views. What people want is an alternative, and we're not giving them that because we're shoving Hulk Hogan in people's faces and doing a storyline with his daughter and Bully Ray.
And yeah, like they could at least try and make it a little different. Like with the X Division, they kind of had a niche product at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was different. People like that. That's why people went to watch it to begin with. Now it's just, well, let's be sports entertainment, but we're on a way tinier scale and nobody's watching us, but we're still going to do it anyway because, well, it's successful for the bigger company, but, we're still going to do that anyway. No,
there was 2 things that's
just doing something different, book everything. Don't book like WWE, book TNA, be different, separate yourself from everything else. Even if you have to, book it more independent style, that's better than trying to compete with a company that's like 3,000 times bigger than you. They have to separate themselves. They actually have a TV deal. They can be seen, on Spike. It's definitely a creative problem because creative want to be booking like WWE, and this company is not supposed to be WWE. It's supposed to be TNA.
And that's the thing. This is where a lot of companies are getting it wrong nowadays. Even Ring of Honor are doing the same thing now. As soon as a big company gets a hold of them, they look at WWE's model and say, we want to do that. Yeah, fine. If you want to progress to that level, then you need to sit there and think, right, what are we doing right? Do they have a face of that company? They only have one person who's a recognizable face in TNA that was not taken from the WWE. And I bet everybody in this panel can name that one person.
Styles?
AJ Styles.
Right.
Everybody else, you can't name them.
And who is AJ Styles to people that don't watch TNA? He's nobody.
Yeah.
You can talk about all the people from WWE, like whether or not Dolph Ziggler is going to be the next Stone Cold Steve Austin and all that kind of stuff. But at the very least, if you say Dolph Ziggler's name, more people are going to know it than AJ Styles. And there are people that watch WWE that if you say, oh, what do you think about James Storm? They're like, who the fuck's James Storm?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing. It's about building your brand and building your names. In order to do that, you have to establish your faces, establish your heels. You can't turn someone the moment Jeff Hardy's going to be leaving the company. You're not going to give your guy that you've built up, that you've given this world championship, have him drop it to someone after turning heel for no reason, no given reason whatsoever. And then you put in another set of heels into the forefront of the company, and then you go, right, we're going to still keep them there, but then we're going to shove Hogan and his daughter in the forefront and have them feud with Bully Ray for some weird fucking reason that makes no sense. And that's the problem. You're oversaturating your product.
Well, before we end up making the segment too long, because I know we got to talk about Genesis a little bit. And before, because everybody's like, oh my God, they're pitching about TNA again. Yeah, we are, because, whatever. I mean, there's some positives. I mentioned some of the positives before. I like some of the names and all that. For all I know, it could work, and I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's a Brodus Clay situation or something. But I had said before I didn't really want to cover TNA a whole lot this year, and this is going to be like the big TNA talk is this time. So now that we know what the live pay-per-view events are and all the other pay-per-views, if you could call them that, that means we got to talk a little TNA Genesis. And to lighten the mood a little bit, I think we need a little Dusty Rhodes for this segment, because I'm sure Dusty Rhodes has more to say about this than Dace, right?
You betcha the American Dream is making his return in the next segment, baby.
So stay tuned for some Sheamus, some Dusty Rhodes, and some TNA Genesis talk.